You roll into the dealership for something simple, a fault light, a service reminder, a part you need, and you walk out having paid for a diagnostic fee, a reset fee, and a part marked up well past what it's actually worth. Most riders assume that's just the cost of owning a Honda. It isn't. There are legitimate, manufacturer-supported ways to handle a surprising amount of this yourself, starting with a diagnostic feature built into your own dashboard that most owners never learn exists. None of this is about tricks, hacks, or anything that voids a warranty. It's simply information Honda already gives you. Here are 7 ways smart Honda riders are keeping more money in their pocket without ever cutting a corner. Way number 1. Using the built-in self-diagnostic mode. Way number 1 is using your motorcycle's built-in self-diagnostic mode instead of paying a dealer diagnostic fee just to find out what a warning light means. Many modern Hondas with digital instrument clusters, including models like the CB500F, CBR650R, and Africa Twin, include a factory diagnostic mode that can display stored fault codes directly on the dash without needing a dealer's scan tool. The exact method to access it varies by model and model year, typically involving a specific button or combination held while turning the ignition on. So the right first step is looking up the procedure for your exact model in the factory service manual or an official Honda owner's resource, rather than guessing or copying a method meant for a different bike. Riders overlook this because dealerships rarely advertise that this exists, since a 5-minute self-check at home competes directly with a diagnostic fee that can run a meaningful amount just to plug in a scan tool. Once you have the code, you can look up what it corresponds to and get a real sense of whether it's something you can address yourself, like a loose sensor connector, or something that genuinely needs a professional's attention. This isn't about avoiding legitimate repairs. It's about not paying to be told information your bike is already willing to show you for free. If you're not confident interpreting a code once you have it, that's still a great time to call a mechanic, just with useful information in hand instead of walking in blind. It's worth being clear about what this trick is and isn't. It isn't a way to bypass a genuinely necessary repair, and it isn't a substitute for proper diagnostic equipment when a code points to something electronically complex, like an ABS or fuel injection fault that benefits from live data rather than just a stored code. What it is, though, is a legitimate first step that costs you nothing, since the diagnostic mode is a feature Honda built into the bike, not a workaround or a hack in the sense of doing anything unauthorized. Many owners go their entire time with a bike never realizing this mode exists, simply because nobody at the dealership has a reason to point it out. And forums and owner communities for your specific model are often the fastest way to find the exact button sequence for your bike, since it does vary enough between models that a universal instruction wouldn't be accurate. Beyond the money saved on a single diagnostic visit, there's a broader benefit to understanding your bike's self-diagnostic capability. It changes your relationship with warning lights generally, turning a moment of anxiety into a moment of information gathering, since a code you can read yourself tells you immediately whether you're looking at something minor or something that genuinely needs prompt professional attention. This is particularly valuable on longer trips or when you're away from your regular mechanic, since a code you can interpret on the spot might mean the difference between confidently continuing a ride and needlessly cutting a trip short over something that turns out to be minor. Way number 2. Ordering genuine OEM parts online instead of at the counter. Way number 2 is ordering genuine OEM parts through Honda's official online parts channels or reputable authorized retailers instead of paying full counter price at the dealership. Dealership parts counters mark up parts to cover overhead, staffing, and inventory costs, which is a legitimate business practice, but it also means the exact same genuine Honda part, correct part number and all, is often available for noticeably less through Honda's official parts, ordering platforms, or authorized online retailers that stock real OEM inventory. This applies broadly across models, from a Goldwing owner replacing a mirror to a Rebel 500 owner needing a clutch cable. The key word here is genuine, since the goal isn't switching to a cheaper off-brand part that may not meet the same specification, it's paying less for the identical part by cutting out the in-person markup. Riders miss this because it doesn't occur to most people that a dealership isn't the only authorized source for real Honda parts. The practical step is finding your part number either from your own research or by asking the dealership's parts department to look it up even if you don't buy from them, and then comparing that exact number across a couple of authorized sources before purchasing. This can mean real savings on anything from body panels to routine wear items, without any compromise on part quality. It's also worth understanding why the price difference exists in the first place. A dealership parts counter is generally priced to support in-person service, immediate availability, and staff who can help you identify the right part on the spot, all of which have real value in certain situations, like when you need a part same day for a bike that's currently torn apart on a lift. But for planned maintenance or repairs where you have a few days of lead time, that convenience premium often isn't necessary. And ordering the identical part number from an authorized online source gets you the same quality without paying for same-day convenience you don't actually need. A quick way to confirm you're getting a genuine part rather than an imitation is checking that the retailer is an authorized Honda parts dealer, which most legitimate ones will state clearly, and cross-referencing the part number against your bike's parts fiche rather than trusting a generic product title alone. This same approach extends to accessories and cosmetic parts as well, not just mechanical components, meaning a rider replacing a cracked fairing panel or a worn seat cover has just as much opportunity to save by comparison shopping across authorized sources as a rider replacing a clutch cable does. It's also worth keeping a saved list of part numbers for the components you replace most often on your specific bike, chain and sprockets, brake pads, filters, since having that reference ready makes future comparison shopping faster and removes any chance of ordering the wrong variant for your particular model year. Way number 3, resetting your own maintenance reminder light. Way number 3 is resetting your own maintenance or service reminder light instead of paying a reset fee for something that takes under a minute. Most Hondas with a digital maintenance reminder, whether it's a simple wrench icon or a more detailed service interval display, have a documented owner-accessible reset procedure printed right in the owner's manual, precisely because Honda expects many owners to service their own bikes for routine items like oil changes. Dealerships sometimes reset this as part of a paid service, which is fine when you're already paying them for the service itself. But some riders get charged a standalone reset fee after doing their own oil change, simply because they didn't know they could clear it themselves. This affects owners across nearly every current model with a digital dash. The reason it gets missed is that the reset procedure isn't always intuitive, and manuals aren't always the first place riders think to look. Once you've done your own routine maintenance, checking your owner's manual for the reset sequence takes a few minutes and permanently removes the need to pay someone else for a task your bike is designed to let you do yourself. It's a small thing individually, but it adds up across the life of ownership, since a reminder light typically comes back on every service interval, meaning it's not a one-time fix, but a recurring task that either costs you a few minutes for free or a fee every single time if you keep having someone else clear it. This is also a good moment to build the habit of logging your own maintenance dates and mileage, since a reset without a record just means you'll be relying on memory the next time the light comes on, and a simple note in your phone alongside the reset takes the guesswork out of knowing when the next service is actually due. Some models also allow you to view accumulated mileage since the last reset directly on the dash, which is worth checking for on your specific bike since it effectively gives you a built-in service tracker that works whether or not you keep a separate log. It's worth double-checking the reset procedure in your specific owner's manual rather than a general online description, since some models require a specific order of button presses combined with the ignition switch position, and getting the sequence wrong typically just means it doesn't reset rather than causing any harm, but it can be a source of frustration if you're working from an instruction meant for a different model. Way number 4, checking recalls and service bulletins, yourself by VIN. Way number 4 is checking recalls and technical service bulletins directly through Honda's official lookup by VIN, rather than waiting for a dealership to mention them or discovering one only after a related repair. This is genuinely free and takes about 5 minutes, and it applies to any Honda motorcycle, new or used. Recalls are safety-related and repaired at no cost, and technical service bulletins often describe known issues and documented fixes for specific model years. Information that can be useful context, even if the fix itself requires a shop visit. Riders overlook this mainly because it doesn't occur to them to check proactively, especially with a used bike where the previous owner may never have addressed an open item. The smart move here is checking your VIN against Honda's official recall database whenever you buy a used bike and periodically afterward, since new bulletins and recalls can be issued well after a model's release. This costs nothing and occasionally saves you from either an overlooked safety repair or a diagnostic fee for a problem that's already a documented, known issue with an established fix. There's an additional benefit specific to used bike buyers. Checking the VIN before you finalize a purchase can reveal whether an open recall exists, which is useful negotiating information and also means you'll know to get it handled at a dealership at no cost right after you take ownership, rather than being surprised by it later. Technical service bulletins, while not always public in full detail the way recalls are, sometimes have summaries available that describe the symptom and the general fix, which can help you have a more informed conversation with any mechanic, dealership, or independent, since you can ask directly whether a known bulletin applies to what you're experiencing rather than starting the diagnostic process from zero. It's worth checking this periodically rather than just once, since it takes almost no time and manufacturers can issue a new recall or bulletin years after a model was originally sold, meaning a bike that had a clean record when you bought it isn't guaranteed to stay that way indefinitely without an occasional follow-up check. This is worth building into your routine the same way you'd check tire pressure or oil level, not because problems are common. Most bikes never have an open recall at all, but because the check costs nothing and the downside of missing a genuine safety recall is simply not worth the few minutes saved by skipping it. Way number 5. Using the factory service manual instead of guesswork. AI number 5 is using the factory service manual for your specific model instead of relying entirely on dealer guesswork or generic advice that may not apply to your bike. Honda service manuals are detailed, model-specific documents covering torque specifications, fluid types, wiring diagrams, and step-by-step procedures, the same reference material dealership technicians themselves use. Having access to the correct manual for your model means you can verify what a shop tells you, follow correct procedures for anything you choose to do yourself, and avoid the kind of costly mistakes that come from using a procedure meant for a different engine or model year. This matters across every model on this list, since even closely related bikes like the CB500F and CBR500R can have small but meaningful procedural differences, from torque specs on fasteners to the exact fluid capacity of the engine, differences that matter enough to affect the outcome of a job done at home. Riders skip this step because service manuals aren't always something owners think to seek out, and it can take a bit of searching to find the correct one for your specific model and year. Once you have it, though, it becomes the single most reliable reference for understanding exactly what your bike needs, replacing guesswork with the same information a dealer technician is working from. Beyond preventing mistakes, having the manual on hand also changes the nature of conversations with any mechanic, dealership, or independent, since you can ask specific informed questions about a quoted repair, what torque spec is being used, what fluid is being installed, whether a particular procedure matches what the manual specifies, rather than simply trusting a quote without the ability to verify it. This doesn't mean every rider needs to become their own full-time mechanic, but even owners who plan to have every service done professionally benefit from being able to double-check that the work described actually matches what the manufacturer specifies for their exact model and year. There's also a practical resale benefit worth mentioning. A rider who's worked from the correct factory manual throughout ownership tends to have a more accurately maintained bike overall, since procedures were followed as specified rather than approximated, and that kind of documented, correctly performed maintenance history is exactly what a knowledgeable buyer looks for when it's eventually time to sell. Way number 6. Building a relationship with an independent Honda mechanic. Way number 6 is building a relationship with an independent Honda experienced mechanic for non-warranty work, rather than defaulting to the dealership for every service. Once your factory warranty coverage isn't the deciding factor, independent shops that specialize in Honda motorcycles or motorcycles broadly often have lower overhead than a full dealership, which can translate into more competitive labor rates for the same quality of work, especially for routine maintenance and common repairs that don't require warranty-specific documentation. This is worth considering for owners of nearly any model once the factory warranty period has passed, or for repairs that were never going to be warranty claims in the first place, like tire changes or brake service. Riders sometimes default to the dealership out of habit or the assumption that only a dealer can be trusted with a Honda, when in reality plenty of independent technicians have deep, specific experience with Honda platforms. Finding one is mostly about asking other local riders for recommendations and being upfront about what work you need, then comparing that quote to what a dealership would charge for the identical job. It's worth being selective rather than choosing the first independent shop you find, since quality varies just as it does anywhere, and a mechanic with genuine experience on your specific type of Honda, whether that's a cruiser, an adventure bike, or a CVT scooter, is going to give you better results than a general shop that services every brand equally without deeper platform-specific knowledge. Local Honda-focused riding groups and online owner communities for your specific model are often the fastest way to get a recommendation with real accountability behind it, since other owners have direct experience with the same shop working on the same type of bike you own, which is more reliable than a generic online review from someone whose motorcycle experience you can't verify. A good independent mechanic relationship also tends to pay off over time in ways that go beyond a single repair, since a shop that knows your specific bike's history is faster at diagnosing future issues and more likely to notice something developing early, simply because they've seen the bike before and have a baseline to compare against. This kind of ongoing relationship is difficult to build at a large dealership, where you may see a different technician every visit, whereas a smaller independent shop more often means the same person working on your bike each time, which adds a level of continuity and familiarity that's genuinely valuable for anything beyond the most routine maintenance items. Way number 7. Sourcing tires and batteries from specialty retailers. Way number 7 is sourcing tires, batteries, and other routine wear items from reputable specialty retailers instead of exclusively through the dealership parts counter. Tires and batteries are consumable items with a defined service life, and while a dealership can absolutely supply and install them, so can any qualified motorcycle tire shop or independent mechanic, often at a more competitive price for both the part and the labor. This applies to every model on this list, since every motorcycle eventually needs new tires and, eventually, a new battery. The important detail here is matching the exact specification your bike calls for, correct tire size and load rating, correct battery type and capacity, rather than assuming any similarly sized part will do. Riders sometimes stick with the dealership for these items simply because it's convenient to have everything done in one place, which is a reasonable trade-off if the price difference is small, but it's worth at least comparing prices at a specialty tire shop or battery retailer before assuming the dealership quote is the only option. Tire shops, in particular, often specialize specifically in motorcycle tires and can offer mounting and balancing service alongside the sale, meaning you're not sacrificing convenience so much as choosing a different, sometimes more specialized source for the exact same category of service. The same logic applies to batteries, where a power sports-focused battery retailer frequently carries the same AGM or lithium battery types Honda specifies, at a price that reflects a more competitive retail market than a single dealership parts counter. As with parts generally, the goal isn't to chase the absolute lowest price regardless of quality. A reputable specialty retailer selling the correct specification is the target, not the cheapest unverified listing you can find, since an incorrect tire rating or an undersized battery can create real safety and reliability problems that erase any savings almost immediately. The bottom line. So here's the bottom line. None of these 7 ways to bypass the dealership involve doing anything unauthorized, voiding your warranty, or cutting corners on quality. They're about understanding that Honda designs many of its bikes with owner-accessible diagnostics, publishes service information, and sells genuine parts through more than one channel, and that a dealership, while a legitimate and sometimes necessary option, isn't the only authorized way to keep your Honda running right. It's also worth saying plainly that dealerships aren't the enemy here. They play a real role, especially for warranty work, complex electronic diagnostics, and repairs that genuinely benefit from dealer-level equipment and training. And there will be times a dealership is exactly the right call. The point of everything in this video isn't to avoid dealerships entirely. It's to stop defaulting to them automatically for every single task simply out of habit, when a meaningful number of those tasks are things Honda itself has made accessible to you directly. Smart riders aren't avoiding maintenance or skipping real repairs. They're just refusing to pay extra for information, parts, or resets that are already available to them directly. Learn your bike's diagnostic mode, know where to find genuine parts and real service information, and build a relationship with a mechanic you trust. And you'll spend less while keeping your Honda exactly as well maintained as it deserves to be. If this helped you see your dealership relationship a little differently, consider subscribing for more honest, practical Honda content. And ride safe out there.